Good afternoon. It's late February in Bordeaux. Can you believe it? The weather temperature may be officially 22, 23 degrees. It feels warmer, obviously. So, I wouldn't say spring is here, but I'm willing to bet on summer being here. However, this is all conducive to my theme, which is a new podcast series on loving the French, with the subtitle How to Live Really Well in France. And this, in one sense, is to join the crowd of YouTube podcasts about this very theme. And that's fine, but I'm taking a very, very different approach. And that you may find amusing merely because it is unusual and rare, and in some cases perhaps close to unique in my particular take on this, on the challenge of relocating, say, from the English-speaking world to France for whatever reason, and we'll talk about reasons in a second. So, what's my story? Briefly, and perhaps if you haven't seen my other podcasts, you'll not know, but background-wise, the grandchild of immigrant parents to the States. My mother's family is from the west of Ireland, and my father's family is from the south of Wales. And that means that we're immigrants in spirit and proud of it. The ruling mythology of immigrants is to arrive somewhere with nothing and turn it into something. And therefore enormously proud of our resources, our inner and external resources, what we do with our lives. And life's an adventure. And it implies movement and travel and discovering new things and reinvention. And it's just a whole arsenal of really, really useful psychological tools and toys to make life really, really interesting. And I have brought all of my bag of tricks to France. Now, the other thing, how did I get here? Well, getting here was, curiously, a reason that many people end up in France. That was medical. I'm of an age, and I had a series of medical problems, and some of them more serious than others, some of them less serious than they appeared, and that got me to visiting Paris for a start. And having got used to the toing and the froing, I love Paris, and we'll talk about why in a minute, I ended up in Bordeaux in 2019. So I've been here officially 7 years with COVID and various circumstances, private circumstances, personal circumstances, business circumstances. It hasn't been a continuous nor cumulative 7 years, but it has been a substantial period of time. And I'm ready to apply for our nationality now. French passport would be a prize, something that I've had in mind for a long time. And it's up to the French to give it to me, but I'm going to do my best to be it. I had to stop there briefly. We had a flurry of little boys on scooters. And this is a one-way narrow street, and all manner of traffic pass up and down it. And it relates back to this theme of urban living. We'll return to that in a second. So, over the 7 years, life's changed a lot. Personal circumstances changed a lot. And I can say without any fear of contradiction that being here has changed my life. It has changed my values. Learned French in school, not quite the same thing as living in French, and I now live in French more and more. And we're getting somewhere with the language, I mean, seriously. And so this is all dandy. So, as a consequence of that, the last 7 years has been the most extraordinary adventure. Now, going back to that toy box, Pierre Noel of Santa Claus, sack of surprises, is that although I'm much older than almost any of you watching this, I feel, I would argue, younger than a great number of you, but I certainly feel younger than I've ever felt. And there is more bounce, more excitement, more interest, and more intrinsic satisfaction in the daily business of living, planning, of doing things, of learning new skills, of becoming more and more part of this society, which was my ambition from the outset, so that it's extremely satisfying to do these things. Now, let's go back and to think of three ways of understanding my approach versus how other people approach living here. And this is true of a way of classifying podcasts on how to live in France, how to move to France, how to relocate to France, of which there are a great number, many of them Paris-based, but not all. And this one, of course, with me living in Bordeaux, this is a southwest of France, and this is a particularly southwestern perspective, perhaps. All right. Fundamental distinctions, categories of experience. My parents were raised in a rural community in Colorado, mining. I was raised in Los Angeles suburb. I'm a townie. I love cities. So much so that having lived in Los Angeles for my first 20 years, then I moved to Japan, spent 25 years there. Now, Tokyo is an enormous place, and Los Angeles is an enormous place, and I love big cities. Just to give you an idea of what I mean, I think of all the places I might live if I lived in the States again, it would probably be Northern California because of the wine region, and I love San Francisco, quite honestly. But in terms of people, my favorite gang of people in the States are New Yorkers. They don't have to be from Manhattan, but I really, really like New Yorkers. They are, as I say, my favorites for all kinds of interesting reasons. The cultural life, for one thing. But that's just what it is. So, what happened afterwards? After Japan, I went to Oxford, and then I lived in England. And then my husband and I moved to Somerset, and I lived on Exmoor for 10 years while I commuted to my new job at the university in Cardiff. I was an academic. And then after a transition into what I call lifestyle business, which is an interesting motif here, we'll go back to that in another podcast about when to quit one's job. That's a big, big deal. But we won't do that today. Today we're going to deal about this choice between country life and urban life. Now, country life. An American and more particularly English passion. Since the 19th century, the attractions, the rejection of urban excess, noise, compared to the tranquility assumed to be gardening, nature, all of that, privacy, has met the countryside as enormously appealing. And it's enormously unappealing to me. I wouldn't want to live in the countryside. France is chock-a-block with villages, and some of them are extraordinarily beautiful, lovely, absolutely magnificent, and I can understand people choosing to live in them. It's just not for me. Now, I'm a townie, and therefore, okay, but not suburb. I was raised in a suburb in Los Angeles. Suburban life has no attractions for me. What attracts me is en centre-ville, being in the middle of it. Now, Paris, really, inwardly I'm a Parisian, and my favorite arrondissement probably would be the 11th and the 7th for preference. In Bordeaux, where I live now, is technically, officially, the 2nd arrondissement. So we're right next to the 1st arrondissement. But nobody talks about arrondissements here. What we talk about are quartiers. And I live in the Château, and the Château is, for me, perfect. It is a population density very high. I mean, the statistic you need to keep in mind, if you're coming to Europe in general, and France in particular, is that there are people who estimate the population density of Paris to be higher than Manhattan, because more people live in the center, where so many New Yorkers commute. So it's a lot of people living in a confined space, and if you're not, noise and activity and vitality and exchange and hello and bisous everywhere you look, this is going, the bees is going on, and I love it. So this is a personal preference. So town for me. After Oxford, I really acquired a taste for middle-sized cities. Cardiff and Bordeaux, Greater Cardiff and Bordeaux are comparable. Bordeaux is richer and probably larger in population. But Cardiff is really, really super for the size it is. And so I've got two super places to come and go from, which is excellent. But you see what I'm saying? This civic urban theme continues. So you need to decide really what you are. Not where you'd prefer to live, but what you are. Because it isn't just a picture postcard choice, it's everyday life. And so this can mean two contrasts to immediately put into mind, not to go on about it. One of them is medical care. And the older you get, the more serious this becomes, because at some point you may not be able to drive. And if you live in the Dordogne and can't drive, then you either rely on your neighbors or your other half or whatever it is to get to these appointments. Now, where I live in Bordeaux, I can walk. I can walk to every medical facility I require, except some of the more serious, specialized agencies in the suburbs. That would be too long a hike. And probably the inner city hospitals like Saint-Andre, I take the tram. We have an excellent tram system. It's easy. However, the doctor, the French do labs for blood tests related things, radiology. Let's see. The dentist is a little bit of a walk. Pharmacists. Pharmacists a big deal, like in England, and they're really important here. All of that was within 5 to 10 minutes on foot. And the closest hospital is 15, maybe 18 minutes on foot, and can get more quickly on a tram. So you see, this is a reason to choose a city on practicality grounds. So this is something to keep in mind. I don't own a car. Reduces my expense, reduces my mobility. I can rely on friends and whatever to go out and do stuff, but I don't need a car. So this is perfect. Now, these are the kinds of choices one needs to think about. But you have a preference, a fundamental philosophic preference for one or the other, and you probably should follow it and make up for it as best you can. Because if your philosophy is really accurate for yourself, then you've made choices that your life can persist and continue and contend with when it becomes difficult, because it's what you want. So the question in the beginning is knowing what you want. And knowing what you want probably precedes other considerations, except the kinds of things I've just mentioned. Now, in your mind, once your choice about city and countryside is clear, then let's become a little bit clearer about why one is here. Now, confession. I'm not here primarily for the wine, the food, the architecture, the weather, or anything else external. I'm here to be with the French. The French are the principal motivation for me living in France. And this probably distinguishes me, at least officially, from what people say, from a great number of other people. Now, what is this? How to explain the French particularities? Oh, for example, now, although I'm British and Irish stock, and all my relations are British and Irish stock, all our in-laws, a great number of in-laws, up to my elbows, and Italian in-laws. Again, a mining community. Sicilians are miners. So I have a great number of Sicilian relations, and also people from southern Italy, Naples, for example. So they're warm, they're demonstrative, they're tactile, and I adore them. I mean, the food is another miracle, and the French aren't like that. The French are, what can I say, cool cats. They have a strong sense of self-regard. They don't take fools gladly. They're rational, they're clear, they're incisive. And at one point in my life, maybe more than one point in my life, I needed that kind of clarity. The Welsh we're realists, but we're not pushy, decisive in that sense. We're certainly not cold. And the French can be cold. And this is an Italian objection, but I accept it, and it's been to my benefit, the fact that they're like this. And there's just a variety of circumstances where that kind of incisiveness and clarity and honesty and forthrightness and frankness is just the most wonderful quality if it's what you need at the time, and I needed it at the time. So I was grateful to the French. Now, you can see where I'm going with this. I'm here to be part of this community, to be with them. And that means one of my primary objectives is to be the best kind of outsider I can be. I'm not a native French speaker, but my French is good and getting better. I am fond of them. I mean, it's so bad. I mean, I like their faults. And therefore, the French are just tremendous benefit in so many, many ways. And as a consequence of that, they perceive it. They know I'm fond of them, that I have a genuine affection for them as a people, and it's reciprocated. If I've been kind to them, then they've been very kind to me. If I've been generous, gone out on a limb, done stuff for them, they do stuff for me. So being in this urban community, in this circumstance like this, I have a place. It doesn't mean I'm, when I even get my passport, I'm not going to be French. I'm not a native speaker. I wasn't born here. But I'm the next best thing. A foreigner who is very fond of the French, who's determined to be a very good citizen of this country and to play my full part and contribute my bit. And this is the way I perceive it. Now, this is what I call organic. I have an organic connection to France. I pursued an organic connection to France. It's people-centered. So the alternative approach, which is very, very common in other discussions of how to live in France, are about organization. Looking for property, buying property, renting property, financing property, acquiring the documents to live here, the visa application, all that goes with it, the medical system in terms of getting your insurance up and running, all this stuff. These are organizational tasks. They are essential, but, and here we arrive at a crucial distinction. You've got to be clear that the purpose of those organizational necessities is a means, not the end. The end is to be here, enjoy life. One of the problems I object with the organizational approach is that nowhere in these discussions is the word pleasure, plaisir, occur. And being here is a plaisir. And French life is about pleasure in many, many ways. And so therefore, if it's not a plaisir, you're missing something. And the point of this podcast is to illustrate how you might find those elements of pleasure, having made the effort to come here, or being in the mindful to make the effort to come here. Let's really benefit from this and make it a joy, because life is short and should be enjoyed. And this is a great place to do that. But it's not a skill set. It's a way of life. And so we have begun.